I love it when a plan comes together. The village is starving, but hey, the mission's done. Hello everyone. Last time after a commander's review, I did a quick review of a puzzle game that I've played right after, then a review of a random collectathon adventure game that I got from Humble, and then a deep dive into a colony sim that I've spent countless hours on. Considering that Mini Settlers is a minimalist city builder, automation and management game that I spent more than 40 hours on, it seems I decided to cram all of those 3 videos in one. Which also means that Commander's 3 is next. Which it's not. God, I hope it's not. Mini Settlers was released in 2025, I think, and everything about the game can be found out from the name. It's a pure automation, no-nonsense minimalistic city builder. You build stuff to make more stuff, to produce more stuff, to be used further down the chain. I just explained how every single resource management game plays. Well, in this case, Mini Settlers has only that to offer. It's minimalistic in every sense imaginable. This works as much in the game's favor, as much as it works against. The name Settlers I associate with a specific line of games called Settlers, that I also really like. But where Settlers is a full-on city builder, Mini Settlers decided against the pesky task of managing people, and just leaves us playing with building blocks. We only have access to buildings that use resources to produce another resource, and ways to transport said resources around. It's pure, it's simple, it still has enough complexity to make things fun for a couple of hours. Sadly, the limit is hit pretty soon. Normally in games like this, there is a tutorial and free play. Sometimes there is a campaign, but that's surprisingly rare. In this case, campaign starts as a tutorial, but then is basically free play with objectives and restrictions. On the other hand, free play, or a sandbox, how it's called here, is the worst part of the game in my opinion. Game's minimalism also rears its head here. Unlike every single other game in a genre known to me, there are no randomly generated maps. The list you see here is all you get, which means that all the maps are carefully made. Citation needed. And this way, games severely lessen in both the size and specs required. Sandbox is not just that, it's also creative mode, which just means that free play exists solely for achievements. Sandbox gives access to both an instant build function and a creative chest. Everything is easier with a creative chest. Campaign is the real way to play this game, as it has both progression in and out of missions, and goals that challenge us to think creatively. First 2 missions are full-on tutorials that explain both the very basics like how to use a mouse and how important positioning and proper road managing is. It also shows how every single map will start, as the water pump is the only building that produces a resource without the use of other resources, it just needs time. It also shows one of the game's main bottlenecks, the limited amount of space we have available. Water pumps can only be put on lakes, and apple farms can only be placed on the grass in the plains biome. All the buildings need to connect to a road for drivers to transport resources between buildings, but buildings don't need resources to be built, so what's the point of collecting things? To increase the population by satisfying the demands of homeowners. Yeah, that's the main goal of the game. As the game goes on, the number of people you need to complete a level increases, and things they want get more complex, requiring several chains of production going at once, as well as sometimes giving us a choice of which resource to use. Somehow, there are incorrect choices to make here. Unlike in similar games, natural resources do not run out, so when a factory is built, it won't ever need to be moved. These mines, farms and pumps work based on efficiency. Farms just need space, and mines take all the resources around them in calculating the efficiency. 6 resource piles is enough for a mine to work at 100%. Pumps have to be built on top of the resource. 100% efficiency is what we always want. A building working at 100% is much more efficient compared to a 97% one. Processing buildings always work at max efficiency. To not make transporting of these resources overcomplicated and to not create traffic, factories should be built with making 1 or 2 items in mind, where resources should be transported from a factory to a factory or a town instead. Towns should also be seen as factories that constantly consume resources and should ideally be one way only. There are 3 tiers of towns and houses and technically resources. Desert and snow towns start at tier 2, although tier 2 is labeled with a 1. As stated before, one of the main bottlenecks is space available to us, and the lack of optimizing the finer details. Farmers take up plain grass, water wells and pumps take up fresh water tiles, fishermen take up frozen lakes, and all of these are finite and cannot really be fine-tuned. They will always take the same amount of space no matter what. Mines can easily take way more resources than needed for max efficiency, which creates this game of deleting and moving it just right to maximize every inch of available space. The other bottleneck is water and fuel, which is two things, but water bottleneck is also a fuel bottleneck, because the sieve filter consumes fuel to make water. While water can be made that way, it competes with ports for shore space, and it uses a good amount of fuel. Fuel can be gotten from 4 ways. One is always available and 3 others may not be. Coal quarry uses raw foods and needs exposed coal to get fuel. A coal mine uses processed foods and needs underground coal. An oil pump uses juice and processed foods to extract fuel from oil, and the charcoal maker is awful and a net neutral at best. Depending on the map, iron can also be a bottleneck, but it's usually a logistics nightmare rather than a demand issue. And that's about it for production buildings. The other important part of the game is the logistics. As stated before, buildings have to be connected to a road for drivers to move resources in and out of buildings. Only normal roads have such drivers, so every building tab has to be connected to a normal road. These roads have to be at least 3 long, which is often annoying when making very compact builds, and max out at 9 tiles long. Drivers on these roads can only carry 1 resource at a time between nodes. Nodes between roads work not only as a way to make an intersection, but also as a small storage space that, if overfilled, really quickly deletes the spillage and creates a resource jam. Next is the highway, a moderately useful way to transport. It's a faster, longer version of the road, and the driver can move 2 things at once, but will rarely be used once the next 2 transportation methods are unlocked. The train and the boat are the best ways to transport resources. Boats are required at some points, as it's one of the 2 ways to move resources between islands. Boats are fast enough, they also move on water, which doesn't take precious space where factories or the suburbs can be built. They also move the most amount of resources at a time, up to 12 items at once. Railroads are the fastest way to move inventory inland, as well as the easiest way to limit that only 1 resource type is available in a certain area, which is how most factories and towns are going to be connected with one another. Railroads can also go over roads and highways, as well as go through mountains. Helicopter is the last way to transport resources. Despite being the last mode of transportation available to us, it's not that good. It only transports 6 items at a time. Helicopter pads take a good amount of space, as well as take a while to transport it all. So you should not rely on helicopters to transport resources between factories. Only use them to jumpstart a factory or as a help. And that's it on the gameplay's front. It's not for naught I described the game as minimalistic, there's nothing else in the way of features left. Sadly, minimalism also creeped in on the finer details. While the game doesn't lag, because it has no need to calculate every single village's path, thought and needs at this very moment, the simplicity of logistics is a double-edged sword. As late game items need 3 different inputs, logistics overall becomes messy. Game also feels unpolished. Most bugs I encountered are just annoyances, but they do add up. While visual bugs like the boat's path being fucked is just funny and actually helps to lessen the travel time, and the sieve filter has a white line here which is just funny, other bugs like the demand and production not updating automatically sometimes, and the demand straight up lying sometimes, especially for water, are just annoyances. Bugs like buildings not working for no reason, or roads visuals still being there despite the road being deleted, had me save and reload, which really annoyed me. Game even crashed once, scared the shit out of me, thank god for autosave. Feels like they just gave up by the end. Worse shit was released on Steam, it's fine, just ship it, release the game already. With this, the review part of the game ends, but I suppose after 40 hours and completing the game, I should give some pointers and advice. It's totally possible to complete the game without these tips, and if you want to try to understand how to abuse the game's mechanics on your own, you are welcome to play the game yourself. For the rest of you, here's how to play the game. Campaign missions require a certain amount of population to pass and hides higher tier of buildings behind population thresholds. For example, at 100, highways and woodworking gets unlocked. At 225 pop, the port, train station and tier 2 towns are unlocked, and so on. At 1000, iron unlocks, and at 7000 everything is unlocked. Here's how to unlock everything, or most of it, quickly. Start by finding the largest plains biome, and put as many max efficiency water wells as possible, then connect them together and start putting the apple farms, a lot of them. Then find a sandy area and put 3 full tier 1 towns and connect it all with roads. Make sure that as little as possible goes through a town, aka make it so that resources go there only when asked, as to not create traffic. That should quickly give access to a stone mine, stone tools and furniture, all of which should also begin production. After ports and trade stations become available, optimize things so that everything moves just a bit faster. At the same time, tier 2 towns become available, and here comes the exploit. Previous tier of houses contribute people to the next tier, so start by putting tier 2 houses whenever you can. Having 40 fully filled tier 1 houses and just 90 tier 2 houses and 60-80 tier 3 houses should make around 7,000 population. No need to even give any resources to tier 2 or 3 houses. During all that, if monuments are available on the map, you should start delivering resources there, as they really help with logistics. And there you go. Now we can start constructing a factory. The way I do it is actually by going backwards. After unlocking everything, I create the necessary amount of towns for the mission and see how much demand is on each resource. After which I start planning how and where each factory is going to lay out, and then connect everything together with trains or boats. And then just leave it AFK till the mission marks as complete. Mini Settlers is minimalistic in every sense of the word. Minimal amount of fuss, minimal amount of options, and minimal amount of space. On the other hand, simple graphics, minimal AI, and buildings not requiring resources to be built makes the game a pure factory management simulator that can easily be played on low-spec devices. It even has full Steam Deck support. You get exactly what you see. Where most other games in the genre try to put us in a special environment to spice the automation up, Mini Settlers is just this. It's just automation. There's literally nothing else. And with this, the bad side of automation games rears its head, the waiting. Most factory games don't like you standing around waiting for things to happen, unless it's late game. For example, in Factorio, you're always incentivized to move around the base and add more production, as well as defend yourself from the bugs. Whereas Mini Settlers is Factorio for kids. Actually no, it's Factorio for toddlers. Factory Town is Factorio for kids. Usually I say I recommend you to play the game. This time I will only recommend if you specifically want an easy, low cortisol automation game. If this appeals to you, go get it, it's 13 euros. And on sale for half that, it seems like a fair price to me. Apparently it used to cost 10 on release, okay? And it's still 10 on GOG. No longer associated with the Polish mafia, yet still winning nonetheless.
Wieża Babel i nektarynki 3,89 kilo.
Thank you for watching the video. After the previous one, I wanted to try something simpler, something that would not require a 40-page script and not boil the PC during editing. I thought I knew what I was getting in for with Mini Settlers, and I guess that's true. I started with thinking I was going to like the game, but quickly found out that it's just too basic and a bit annoying. But then I learned how to actually play the game. I powered through. Not the worst 50 hours I've spent. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for more content to come. Although I honestly have no clue what the next video's topic is going to be.